What is our first main topic today?
Main topic number 1 comes to us from James Lochmann, who says, Aloha, John and crew. Well, episode 2 of Andor has
12.
12 of Andor has finally aired, and OMG, the tension was through the roof. This episode was a great way to cap off season 1. John, I know you've been saying that you keep waiting for Andor to have a weak episode, but with great writing like this week after week, I think you're going to be waiting a long time. I love The Mandalorian, but I gotta say, I think Andor is way better. They've been able to build tension, excitement, and tell a story through dialogue or even just a simple look. Your thoughts?
So sadly, last night was the finale of Andor. And it's going to be the last Andor we get for a couple of years, unfortunately. But this show has been nothing short of remarkable. I remember after I watched the first bunch of episodes, the first reaction to it that I said to people is that this does not feel like a Disney Plus show. This feels like an HBO show. Yeah. And I meant that in every best way possible. And I've been feeling this way through it. And now that the season is done, I can now say, I believe this is the best Star Wars that has ever been on television. And it's not just because it's more mature or anything like that. The storytelling is the best storytelling. The character development is the best character development. Just the way the world building, actually. They've done world building in this show that I think has been a desperately needed dimension of the universe of Star Wars for a long, long, long time. The writing is the best writing we've ever seen in televised Star Wars. This and the characters, oh my God, the characters are just the dialogue and the way they can build tension through looks and dialogue and exposition. And it's just been, I've had my heart pounding as much watching two people standing still in a scene as I do watching, a Formula One race car going by. It has been absolutely remarkable. And this episode, while we're not going to get into any specific details to give away any spoilers or anything like that, for that, come on back at 3 o'clock Los Angeles time for our Andor after show. We look forward to seeing you there for that. But there's a moment here where Lochmann is standing and looking at events unfolding.
Dude.
And it's for the first time he sees what rebellion looks like, right? The manifestation, the coming together of what the reckoning we've heard in the marketing, all that kind of stuff, coming that I felt my heart pounding in my chest as all that is going on. Again, it's so difficult to talk about elements of the show without giving spoilers away for the episode last night. I will say this though, as fabulous as this final episode was, and I loved it, and I was gripped every step of the way. And again, it was a side of the Star Wars universe during the Imperial era that we have never seen in Star Wars before on the movies or on TV that was desperately needed. But I will say this. The ending frustrated me.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. The ending of the episode last night did not feel like the ending of the season. It felt like the ending of an episode. Like the way this show ended, it felt like, well, come back next week to see what happens next. It felt like just the end of any other episode. And it was a good ending to an episode. But, I always talk about, and not every show can be Supernatural, but I love Supernatural. And one of the things that I loved about Supernatural was the way they structure their seasons is that every year is the same. They get to the end of a season. They give you a wrap up, a conclusion of what this was. They really wrap up what the story of the whole year has been, and they wrap it up and then introduce what's coming next year, what the next story is going to be, right? They give you a little hint as to what's going to happen next. And this one just kind of ended, and it just felt like the screen went black, and I'm like, that can't be it. Oh, and there is a post-credit scene. First time in any Andor episode, just so you guys know, you got to get through a bunch of the credits, but there is a post-credit scene, and it is significant, and you should check it. Make sure you watch it.
On many different levels.
On many different levels, it's significant. Again, talked about a lot more in our open spoiler discussion later. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, should be your go-to when betting on the NFL this holiday season. With things like same-game parlays, easy and fast payouts, player props, and more. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. And check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Just go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, total points, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. Personally, I like the Rams to pull off a big upset win over the Chiefs next weekend. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code Campea. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code Campea. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. But other than that, the ending that I found frustrating, especially that's not what you should leave us on for 2 years while we wait for the next episode. That being said, I thought it was fabulous. I thought philosophically, it really brought the whole mission statement of the Andor series right to the forefront. I loved it. Rob, you had a chance to watch it. What did you think?
Oh, I thought this was masterful television. I mean, what's really interesting from a producing standpoint, they bring this full circle from the first 3 episodes to now the last 2. And I was thinking about it from a production standpoint. You know how we've watched these shows with one of the big disappointments I had of things like Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan is just how lackluster they seem from a production standpoint. I felt like, wow.
Yeah.
This show, like I can only imagine. So the way TV shows are made is they amortize their costs across however many episodes there are. So there were 12 episodes of this show, and 5 of them take place on Ferrix. So I can only imagine that when they're thinking about, because you have feature film people making this, going, okay, we're going to spend our money building an actual build, a location, these city streets and everything, because we have a way to use them so they amortize those costs. Say they spent $4 million times 5, which is how they're able to build this. And they take the show and they bring it from the beginning all the way to the end. The use of that set in this episode was one of the most effective uses of, it's both a build and sure they've got extensions and all that. I was mesmerized by how, I mean, this turns into Les Mis.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, this is Les Mis.
I'm watching this and I'm thinking, the people, I wish, here's my frustration with the show. I wish the fans had more of a broad base of knowledge of something like Les Mis to understand what they're doing on this show.
I could hear in my head, as we're not going to say what the scene was, but as the scene was happening, all I could hear in my head is, can you hear the people sing the song?
I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, this is so great. And all these people, well, Rob, I find this show slow. I'm like, because your broad base of knowledge of pop culture is a little limiting. Don't watch Star Wars, read goddamn comics. Go watch some musicals. Go watch. If you knew, and first of all, it's not just watching Les Mis, it's liking Les Mis and understanding what that story's about. And it's frustrating to talk to people about this show who I'm like, you have never seen or understood half the things this show is drawing upon. And by the way, this is not a personal criticism of all of you. It took no, it is not. Look, I hadn't seen Les Mis until later in my life.
You're way too goddamn limited. No offense.
But it's frustrating to hear people who it's the difference between knowing how to read and being literate. This is a show that requires its audience to understand where it's drawing upon things from. And if you don't, and I can understand, it's lost on you. And it's not but I'm watching this and I'm thinking this is a marvel that they got this show made, because it's assuming a lot from its audience and it expects the audience to come up to its level. And this final episode, I was shocked at some of the things that they were doing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God. And I couldn't believe it. And you know, I read this you sent out a Rolling Stone article that I hadn't read, which was a review of this episode, that talked about how the one thing about the show that was a letdown overall is that Cassian Andor is kind of a passive character. we are, the audience, is Cassian Andor. If you look, he spends a lot of the time watching things happen. And they bring this up. We're Cassian. This show is
Cassian's our vessel through the story.
And so we're all in the position of Cassian. If you needed to understand why you personally needed to join this rebellion, this show will tell you. And by the end, I mean, I'm like, I get it. I'm like, okay, I am Cassian Andor. And
I'm Cassian Andor.
I'm Cassian
Yeah,
Andor.
that's right.
Spartacus.
That's right. No, but John, I thought the show, and I have to disagree with you because I think what you're talking about the not the post-credit scene, but the ending of the show
ending, yeah.
seemed a little bit of like, but I thought what happened in the entirety of the episode was really the
I agree. The
conclusion.
entirety of the episode was great. And by the way, one other thing I should point out, again, we're not going to go into details, but of course, it's understood that not in television history since Pam and Jim, has there been a couple that the audience has wanted to ship more
Oh my God.
than Deidre and Cyril. and like, all I'm going to say is watching it, and Anne's like, sometimes there'll be these awkward moments, and Anne will go like, we'll just be sitting there watching it, and Anne will just go, kiss.
Yeah.
Right? So we're saying, I'm going to swear, we're sitting there, and Anne is like, like there's a scene that's happening, there's this tension, all of a sudden Anne out of nowhere is like, fuck.
Dude, I gotta say, somebody texted me and said Cyril has become the ultimate simp lord, and I'm like, that's exactly what he's become.
Or no, it was this do
Simp
sex.
Lord.
Do sex.
I mean, that was, and that's the thing. They took all the threads, all these characters, and brought it all back and tied it up into a neat little bow. And by the way, you know what this thing did the best? What? It made the Empire terrifying.
Yeah, well, there's an image, there's a visual image, and I won't give you the context of it at all. But there's an image that happens in the show that in any other time and any other circumstance, it would just be, it's a fun, but there's an image that happens in the show, and again, no context, of a stormtrooper falling from a window. But the way Gilroy and crew framed, set up, and shot the scene, that image became a snapshot representation of what was happening, not just in the moment, but what was happening in the galaxy. And anyway, I need to go over to you now.
I'm halfway through because I go to
you
sleep.
normally watch it after the show on Mondays before the.
I watched some of it this morning while I was getting ready though, and I'm just at the part where there's a flautist.
Yes, let's just say that. Which is not a phrase you ever thought you'd hear in Star Wars.
No.
Yes, it seemed
When it was happening, so I was like, oh, hey, we
Did
got
any of you
flutes in
guys have a
space.
chance to watch the last episode of Andor yet?
I'm watching it after this.
I watched it. That was lit. It
Taylor's
reminded me
happy
of
with
Dr.
it.
Seuss, actually. Not going to spoil anything, but all the instruments. It reminded me of Dr. Seuss.
Hell yeah, a
Oh,
little bit of the Flausen style.
Dude, and those stormtroopers were dead shots. There's no stormtroopers who miss in this show.
The whole fun stereotype of stormtroopers can't. Yeah, that doesn't happen here. That's.
I mean, and the thing is, I thought the Empire was truly scary.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. Have you had a chance to watch the final episode, I should say, of Andor season 1? If so, what did you think about it? If not, you've got a bunch of hours to go ahead and watch that before our Andor after show at 3 p.m. today. We hope you guys will come and join us for that. So jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.